Gold. One of the few safe havens we have left in this fucked up economy. I have been investing in gold since my mid-20s, and today I want to share my experience, how having gold saved me from going totally broke, and how it immensely reduces my financial anxiety. This is not about how to get rich, it's about how to stop getting poorer, fight inflation, and become more resilient. So welcome back, Achievers. Go get your quadruple coffees and let's see what gold can do for you.
You are watching the Achievers Toolkit. Build a better you.
So let me give you a bit of personal context first. I got my first job in the early 2000s, when I was still a teenager. It was a call center job. Nothing fancy and the pay wasn't great. But I was living with my parents back then and I had no real bills, so I was able to save some money. After a couple of years though, I started noticing something uncomfortable. Everything kept getting more and more expensive, and my savings were slowly being eaten away by cost of living and inflation. That was the first time I really noticed inflation. Before that, it was something old people would talk about. But now I was an adult, or at least on paper I was, and I knew my stash of cash was getting less and less valuable every month. So a friend of mine, whose family ran a gold and silver business, suggested something very simple. Instead of leaving my savings in cash or at the bank with stupid low interest gains, why not start buying a bit of gold? Back then, I didn't have anywhere near enough money to buy any big asset, like a property. That was completely out of reach. But gold wasn't. So I started very small, buying some of these. These are quarter-ounce gold coins. They were relatively cheap at the time, and I could afford 2 or 3 per year. Since then, and this was more than 20 years ago, I have been trading gold, both buying and selling, depending on my income, cost of living, and my life situation. Sometimes small pieces, like this, sometimes bigger ones, like this coin. This is a full ounce. It's roughly, as of today, roughly $5,000. And sometimes these other ones, these are gold bars, the same, 1 ounce. So it's just the same thing, the same amount of gold in a different format. Now, some of you might be wondering, what about the big gold bar or ingot you showed at the intro? This one's fake. If this was real, I would probably be filming from a jacuzzi in the Bahamas. For most working class people, gold doesn't look like this or anything you see in the movies. It looks like very small and sexy pieces that you quietly build over time. So let's talk about the pros and cons of gold, and I'll share what I have learned from actually owning it, not just the theory. Pro number 1. Gold is not hype. It's not crypto. It's not a get-rich-quick bullshit scheme. It's not some TikTok trading strategy. Gold has been money for thousands of years. Think about it. Empires collapsed, countries changed names, currencies died, and now they belong in a museum. Gold stayed. And when things get really ugly, like the way the world has been in the last, 5 years, people run to gold. It's what economists call a financial safe haven. This is the main thing, the main reason that convinced me to buy. Gold is not temporary, it doesn't have an expiry date, and it doesn't need a government or any bank to be valuable. On the other side, money can be printed or electronically generated, and currencies are tied to the trust people have in a particular government, in the case, for example, of the US dollar, or an economic region, like in the case of the euro. That's why the purchasing power of your money goes down year after year, but gold beats inflation, generally speaking, and it's always trusted worldwide. You can buy it and sell it at a fair market price pretty much anywhere in the world. Pro number 2. Gold is easy to store. Most people I know don't fully trust the banking system. I don't either. And they prefer to have some money in cash, just in case. Consider this, if you had to safely store $50,000 in cash, you will need a box or a safe, and you'd need to make sure the temperature is fine, the humidity is fine, because if it's too extreme, the paper will be damaged. To keep the same amount in gold, as of today's price, you would only need 10 of these coins. So you can see the difference. Gold is relatively easy to store, easy to hide, and hard to destroy. Now, you might challenge me on this one, it depends on how much gold you have. But chances are, you won't need a place like Fort Knox to store a few pieces of gold. If at some point you have too much and you're not sure about keeping this in a safe at home, my recommendation is rent a cheap insured storage box in a bank. Even if it's super small, it can still fit a fortune in gold. Pro number 3. Gold is hard to spend. There's been many moments in my life, especially in my late 20s and early 30s, where I was a bit sloppy with money. I would get tempted by fancy guitars, computers, technology in general, and many things I didn't need. Gold is great for people like me, because you can't go buy an iPhone with the gold. You have to sell the gold first. That's a little barrier, a small annoyance that you put between you and the thing you desire. That will force you to stop and think, do I really need this? Do I really want to get rid of my beautiful gold just to buy something trivial? So if you are a serial spender, gold could be a good way to save you from yourself. Now let's talk about some uncomfortable truths about gold. And this is not to demotivate you, it's just to make you aware of its limitations as a financial asset. Con number 1. Gold doesn't produce cash flow. Gold doesn't give you an income, it doesn't pay dividends like some shares in the stock market, and it doesn't pay you a monthly rent the way a property would do. There is no cash flow. The only thing it does is it keeps value and maybe appreciates in the long run. You don't really make any money unless you sell it at a profit. And in most cases, you will have to wait for years. This is why it's not a good idea to put all your investments in one basket. There are other things to do with your money that will give you cash flow. But having, say, 10 to 20% of your savings in gold can give you a deep sense of stability and peace of mind. Con number 2. Flat periods. Gold is not guaranteed to appreciate every single year. There have been many periods where it hardly moved, and others where it even went down for a little while. The long-term trend is usually upwards, but don't expect to make a lot of money quickly. It takes patience and timing. This makes it too boring for some investors who prefer assets that move quickly. If you want excitement, gold is the wrong asset. Now, you will notice that when the world is a hot mess, when there is war, geopolitical instability, and financial uncertainty, pretty much everything we've seen since the pandemic, you will see gold going up and most of the currencies in the world going down. So remember, never buy during a panic. If you see people desperately queuing to buy gold, it's too late. You should have bought earlier. You should buy when things are calm and boring, and then be patient, wait for the right moment to sell. Con number 3. Taxes. They say the only things guaranteed in this life are death and taxes. I don't know if that's true, but gold doesn't escape this rule. In most countries, you will have to declare any profits from your gold transactions. And yes, you will have to pay taxes on that. In some countries, gold transactions are monitored by the government, so they can know when you buy and when you sell. Now, some countries also have little exceptions and capital gains brackets, so you might be able to pay zero taxes under certain circumstances. Talk to an accountant or just go and study the legislation yourself if you have the patience. Where I live, there is a little tax benefit that I use every single year. You might have something similar in your country, it might be worth checking. So, in conclusion, gold buys you peace of mind, not a Lamborghini. It will not make you rich overnight or solve any burning financial pressures. It's another tool in your financial toolkit. It's perhaps one of the most boring tools, but it's been a reliable one for me, and it's one of the very few things I did absolutely right when I was younger. If you are considering buying gold, I always recommend talking to a certified financial advisor. They will tell you the tax implications, and they will also tell you if there's anything more urgent you should be doing with your cash. For example, pay off any high-interest loans or save money for a proper emergency fund. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, I talk to one when I need to, and I suggest that you do the same. So, thanks for watching, Achievers. If you like practical, non-hyped thinking about money, minimalism and life, please go ahead and subscribe. It really helps small channels like mine. And if you'd like to read about minimalism, personal finances, and stress management, you can get a free chapter of my book on my website or get yourself a full copy on Amazon. Thanks a lot for watching, I really hope this was useful, and I'll see you on the next one.